My cousin stole the baby name I'd planned for years, then invited me to the christening like it was no big deal. I declined. Instead, I posted my real reason. And now, half the family won't speak to her. My name's Rachel, 31, female, and I need to say something I've been swallowing for months now. I don't think I'll ever forgive my cousin Hannah, not because of what she did, though that was nuclear-level betrayal, but because of how normal she acted afterward, like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't taken something sacred and stomped all over it with her smug, pastel flats-wearing feet. Growing up, Hannah, 32, female, was my shadow, and I don't mean that in a cute sisterly way. She copied everything I did. If I joined the soccer team, she joined the soccer team. I cut bangs, she cut bangs. But it wasn't until our 20s that I started to notice something more insidious. It wasn't mimicry anymore. It was identity theft. I got into interior design. She suddenly had a passion for aesthetics and started posting mood boards on Pinterest. I started dating Adam. 6 months later, she was flirting with him at Thanksgiving, laughing too hard at his jokes, wearing lipstick that was suspiciously close to mine. Still, I held the line, kept the peace. Because family, right? But the name, that name, I had held onto since college. Ilara. I found it in some obscure mythology class and it just clicked. I wrote it in the margins of notebooks, sketched it into imaginary birth announcements. I told Hannah, stupidly, at brunch one day 5 years ago. She'd just announced she was pregnant, and I, not even trying yet, had confided that I already had the name picked out. I can still hear my own voice. If I ever have a girl, she'll be Ilara. She'd nodded, smiled. Oh, that's so unique. Totally you. Fast forward to last December. I was 5 months pregnant, finally. After a brutal miscarriage 2 years prior, every week of this pregnancy felt like climbing a cliff with no harness. We'd just had the anatomy scan. It was a girl. I'd cried in the car for 20 minutes, clutching the ultrasound like it was holy. 2 weeks later, Hannah gives birth to her second kid, a girl, and names her, wait for it, Ilara. I found out from Instagram. There she was, wrapped in a pale pink swaddle captioned, "Welcome to the world, Ilara June," with a white heart emoji and a Bible verse. I stared at that post for so long I forgot to breathe. I thought it was a joke, a placeholder, some kind of weird mistake. So I texted her, me, "Is this real? You named her Ilara?" Hannah, "Yeah, isn't it beautiful?" Just felt right when she came out. Just felt right. Like she hadn't known for 5 damn years it was the one name I'd clung to like a life raft. The one thing I'd imagined through grief and disappointment and fertility treatments. I didn't even respond. I couldn't. A week later, she mailed us an invite to the christening, addressed to me and my husband like we were just ordinary guests. No mention of the name, no acknowledgement, just a pastel envelope and a note that read, "Hope you can make it," would mean the world to us. I didn't go, but I didn't stay silent either. I didn't plan to post anything at first. I just wanted to disappear from the whole scene, grieve in peace, block her Instagram, burn the christening invite in the fire pit out back and move on. But the thing about betrayal is that it festers. It doesn't dissolve, it rots. And every time someone in the family texted, "Can't wait to meet baby Ilara," or posted some recycled Pinterest quote about how cousins are your first best friends, I felt like I was being gaslit by my own blood. So I did what felt natural. I told the truth. It started as a caption on a private photo I shared with close friends. Me in our nursery, holding a little wooden sign I'd had custom-made weeks earlier, Ilara Ray, arriving July 2025. It was supposed to be a joyful announcement. Instead, it turned into a eulogy. I wrote, "I always imagined sharing this name with joy. For years, Ilara was my secret dream, something I clung to through infertility, a miscarriage, and a hellish pregnancy. I told my cousin this name in confidence 5 years ago. She used it anyway. 2 weeks after finding out I was having a girl, I'm heartbroken. And no, I won't be attending the christening." I didn't name names, but everyone knew. Within hours, my phone was blowing up. Friends, cousins, even old coworkers were messaging. "Wait, Hannah, is she serious? That's so messed up." I wasn't fishing for sympathy, I swear. I was bleeding out, trying to keep from drowning in this weird, petty heartbreak no one warns you about. I thought maybe a handful of people would see it. Maybe it'd just help me breathe again. But then my aunt, Hannah's mom, called me, sobbing. "I just wish you'd talk to us before posting something so cruel." Cruel? I was the one who'd cried on my bathroom floor for hours after seeing that Instagram post. I was the one forced to pick a new name mid-pregnancy while watching the one I loved become someone else's fairy lights and lace photo op. I was the one who got copied, again and again, until there was nothing of mine that felt mine. And I was cruel? My mom, bless her, tried to play peacemaker. She said maybe Hannah forgot I told her the name, that maybe it was a coincidence, that names aren't property. I just stared at her and said, "If I name my son Michael, would you think I forgot Dad's name?" She went quiet after that. The worst part? My husband, Mark, 33 male, tried to stay neutral for a while. He said it didn't matter what our daughter was named, that what mattered was she was ours. And I know he meant well, but it felt like one more person telling me to just get over it. So I snapped. This isn't about a name, I told him. It's about being erased. Again, and no one caring. He looked at me then, not like I was being hormonal or dramatic, but like he finally understood, like he could see the years of quiet theft behind this one loud betrayal. And that night, he said 4 words I didn't know I needed. We're picking something better. We sat on the living room floor that night, surrounded by baby name books, scrap paper, and the remnants of takeout. It felt like starting over in a house that still echoed with the ghost of Alara. I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud anymore. It hurt, like someone ripped a page out of my favorite book and claimed they wrote it first. Mark was quiet, flipping through pages. I was curled up on the couch, half reading, half grieving. Then he said, almost casually, "What about Lyra?" I blinked. "Lyra? Yeah, sounds like music. Same kind of vibe, but it's ours." I didn't cry, not immediately, but I felt something release. Not a clean break, more like a frayed knot finally giving way. I nodded, slowly. "Lyra Ray," I whispered. "It's beautiful." We ordered a new sign that night. I folded up the old Ilara one and packed it in a shoebox. I wasn't ready to throw it out, but I couldn't look at it either. That might have been the end of it. I could have healed in silence. Let Hannah have her performative christening and her curated nursery reveal with matching swaddles. But no, of course not. That would have been too easy. Because 2 days after my post went up, 2 days after half the family had texted me some version of, "Wait, she knew and still used it," Hannah showed up at my door. I'm not kidding. In person. Holding a tray of lemon bars like we were in a Hallmark movie instead of the emotional version of The Purge. "Hey," she said, like we hadn't spoken in months. "I just thought we should talk, face to face." I didn't move. I stood in the doorway with my hands gripping the frame, heart pounding like a war drum. "Why are you here, Hannah?" She had the nerve to look offended. "Because you made that post, and now everyone thinks I'm some kind of villain. It's just a name, Rach. I didn't know you were still set on it." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "I told you 5 years ago I'd name my daughter Alara. You told me it was beautiful. That wasn't casual. That was a conversation." Her eyes were already welling up. Classic Hannah. Weaponized tears. I was in labor. The name came to me and it felt right. I wasn't thinking about you. I was thinking about my baby. And that was the moment I snapped. "Exactly. You weren't thinking about me. You never have. You took the one thing I kept sacred, and then you invited me to clap for it like it wasn't stolen." Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. "And now you're standing here with baked goods like you didn't bury a knife in my back and smile for pictures with it." She put the lemon bars down on the porch rail. "I didn't come to fight. I came to apologize." "You came to clean up your image," I said. "You don't get to rewrite the story just because people saw the real version for once." And then I did something petty. I picked up the lemon bars, walked back inside, and shut the door without another word. Mark looked up from the couch as I came in, still shaking. "You okay?" I stared at the lemon bars. "They're dry," I said, just like her apology. 3 days later, my aunt posted a Facebook status that made my jaw clench so hard I thought I chipped a molar. It read, "Being a mother means rising above drama. Some people can't see past their own bitterness. We forgive anyway. Baby Alara deserves love, not hate. Family. First, Zayuk, grace over grudges." She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. The entire post was a passive-aggressive nuke aimed directly at my uterus. Mark saw it before I did. He was scrolling while I was folding laundry and just said, "You're gonna want to sit down for this." I didn't. I read it standing, heart rate spiking like I'd been sucker punched. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the basket of onesies. I wanted to scream, not just because she twisted the narrative, but because it worked. Within minutes, aunts and uncles and third cousins were commenting things like, "You're the bigger person, love you, and don't let the negativity win. Your strength is inspiring." Strength? This woman raised the child who stole my baby's name like it was a damn Etsy design. Then came the texts. Not to me, of course. To my mom. "Has Rachel always been this angry? Why is she tearing the family apart over a name? I mean, Alara's already here. Isn't it time she let it go?" Let it go. Like it was a balloon, not a name, etched into the edges of my soul. My mom tried to play neutral again, but I heard the hesitation creeping into her voice when she called me. "Honey, maybe you should take the post down now," she said gently. "It's just fueling the fire." "It's not a fire," I snapped. "It's truth, and if they can't handle it, that's on them." Mark again was quiet but present. He didn't push, just handed me a glass of water and pulled up the nursery registry we hadn't finished. Normal things, grounding things, but I could feel something simmering beneath my skin, some part of me that wasn't done yet. The next day, I got a DM from Hannah. She didn't even apologize. She sent a screenshot of my post to me with just 3 words. "You happy now?" And I realized something. She wasn't sorry she'd hurt me. She was sorry people saw it. So I wrote one more post. Not subtle, not indirect. I wrote it like a goddamn scalpel. I was raised to believe family meant love, that sharing was generous, that forgiveness was holy. But when you tell someone your dream in confidence, and they take it like it was never yours, that's not misunderstanding. That's theft. When they smile and say, "We forgive you," after they twist the knife, that's not grace. That's gaslighting. So no, I won't come to your christening. I won't sit politely while you parade your betrayal in bows and hashtags. I won't name my daughter after the girl who replaced her before she was even born. I will give her her own name, her own space, and I will raise her knowing she never has to shrink to keep someone else comfortable. Lyra Ray, you are mine, and no one else gets to write your story. It went viral. Within 2 hours, it had 3,000 likes. People were sharing it with captions like, "This is how you reclaim your voice," and "Family can be the most toxic." And then the phone calls started again. This time, not in support. This time, chaos was coming. Update 1. I thought maybe some close friends would share it. Maybe I'd get a few supportive comments. Instead, it hit some algorithmic nerve and exploded. Like 28,000 shares in 2 days. DMs from strangers, podcast people asking to read it on air, even one person from a parenting blog asking if they could adapt it into a poem. Wild. And with that exposure came the tidal wave of responses. Some people said I was brave, that I'd put words to something they'd lived through. Silent grief over a name, a stolen tradition, a copied identity. But others, oh boy, others went full unhinged. One woman messaged me, "You're a psycho for making a baby's name about you." Another said I was jealous that Hannah's daughter is real and yours is still cooking. A guy, some random boomer from Idaho, called me a narcissist who would raise a spiteful brat with this attitude. Cool. Totally normal internet behavior. But the most deranged reaction came from Hannah herself. She made her own post. Public. Long. With a filtered picture of her and baby Alara at the christening, captioned, "When your light shines, bitter hearts will try to dim it. But God knows the truth. My daughter is a blessing, not a battleground. No drama. Just grace. Pray for the broken. Pray for the broken, as in me, the woman she stole from, the woman she blindsided, then gaslit, then tried to slap with a lemon bar, and people, our extended family included, rallied to her side. Ignore the jealousy, they said. She's just hormonal. You're such a strong mama. My cousin Becca even commented, "Can't believe she's making this all about herself. Your daughter is perfect. You're perfect. Period." I nearly threw my phone across the room. But here's the part y'all need to know. The part I didn't expect. People on my side, quiet ones, the ones who never speak up, started coming out of the woodwork. Distant cousins, family friends, even my Aunt Laura, who once called Hannah her second daughter. She messaged me privately and said, "I've always known she was a chameleon. You just finally exposed it." Another cousin, Kevin, forwarded screenshots from a family group chat I'm not in. Apparently, Hannah had vented a few weeks ago before naming the baby. She wrote, and I quote, "Rachel's not even pregnant again yet. She can't claim a name forever. Plus, no one in the family will even remember she said it." Yeah. Screenshotted, timestamped, forwarded to me. So now I had proof it wasn't a coincidence. It was premeditated. I didn't post the screenshots yet, but I've got them saved and printed. Meanwhile, my mom, who's been Switzerland through this whole thing, finally picked a side. She called Hannah and told her bluntly, "You need to apologize, and not with lemon bars, with honesty." Hannah's response? She blocked my mom. Blocked her own aunt. So yeah, things are getting nuclear, and I haven't even gotten to the part where I see her in person again, because that's coming. Oh, and I've got something planned. Not money, not sabotage, something symbolic. She stole a name, I'm about to give her one back, one she'll never forget. So here's how it all went down. My grandma's birthday is a big deal in our family. Like, rented hall, catered lunch, everyone flies in level big, and yeah, I debated skipping it. I really did. But then I remembered something Hannah once said, back when we were close enough to share secrets and drink too much boxed wine on her back porch. She said, "Grand's party is where people remember who's really part of this family." So I went. Wore a soft green dress that showed my baby bump. No makeup drama, just a simple braid and a little lip gloss. Mark came too, held my hand the entire time, not saying much but grounding me like always. And I walked in there ready for war but dressed for peace. Because the thing about revenge, the best kind doesn't look like revenge at all. Hannah was already there, naturally. Front table, center of the room, holding court with her pastel-dressed baby on her hip like she was royalty. Her husband Nate gave me a stiff nod. She didn't even look my way, which was fine, because I wasn't there to start a fight. I was there to end something. After lunch, there's always a little family moment where people can say something nice about Grandma. Most people say the same thing every year. I stood up when it was my turn. heart thudding so loud I could hear it in my ears, and I kept it short. I just want to say how grateful I am for Grandma, I said, especially this year, when I'm about to become a mother myself. Naming a child is a sacred act. It's how we honor the stories that made us. It's a promise to the future. A few people shifted in their chairs. But even when names are taken from us, even then, we find new ones. We build new meanings. And we make sure our children know no one else gets to write their story. I sat down, calm, clear. The room was silent for a beat too long before the polite clap started. Hannah looked like someone had dropped an ice cube down her spine. But it gets better. Because later, when people were milling around and eating cake, I slipped away and placed a small gift bag on Grandma's seat. Inside was a framed photo of our new nursery, soft stars painted on the wall, a bookshelf shaped like a crescent moon, and in the middle, a little wooden plaque that read, Lyra Ray, our light in the dark. There was a handwritten note underneath it. She won't carry the name that was stolen. She'll carry the one we made, with love. I didn't say a word to Hannah, didn't even glance at her on the way out, but when we got to the car, I saw her through the rearview mirror, storming out of the building, red-faced, dragging Nate behind her like a doll on wheels. She knew. Everyone knew. And she couldn't spin it, because I hadn't screamed. I hadn't ranted. I just stood in the middle of the family she tried to manipulate and made it clear. You can't erase me. Not with a name, not with a smile, not with lemon bars and lies. You stole a Laura? I gave her Lyra. And Lyra will know who stood tall and who crumbled in the face of the truth. 2 days after the party, the group text started melting down like a cheap candle in a heat wave. It started with my Aunt Donna, usually the most clueless of the bunch, texting, "So, anyone else think Rachel's speech had a little too much drama for a birthday lunch?" That opened the floodgates. Cousin Amanda chimed in with, "Why couldn't she just be gracious? The name thing is old news. Move on." But here's where the universe finally decided to throw me a bone. My cousin Kevin, hero of the screenshots, dropped the receipts. Right in the family thread. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. All of it. Hannah's original group chat rant. The "Rachel won't even remember she told me" comment. The premeditation, the smugness, the lies, silence, then chaos. Half the group went full scorched earth. Wait, you knew she wanted the name and took it anyway? Wow, Hannah, that's low. Even Aunt Laura, once her biggest fan, wrote, "This is so disappointing. I defended you." And Hannah? Oh, she detonated. First she left the group chat, then she texted me directly. A barrage of messages in quick succession. "You've always been jealous. You ruined Alara's christening on purpose. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Then, I hope your daughter grows up knowing what a bitter person her mom is." That one cracked something in me. I'd been playing the calm card, the dignity card. But this? "You come for my baby?" I dropped the filter. I texted her back one sentence. "At least my daughter will grow up with a mother who doesn't steal what isn't hers." Then I blocked her. Everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, phone, email, even Venmo, just to be petty. And that's when the second nuclear bomb dropped. She showed up at my house. Again, this time not with lemon bars. This time, she was screaming in our driveway, with Alara in the car, crying in her car seat. Mark ran outside before I could even get to the door. "You need to leave. Right now." "I just want to talk to her," Hannah shrieked, mascara streaking, hands flailing. "She's turned everyone against me. She ruined my life." "You ruined your own life," Mark said, deadly calm. "And you're scaring your baby. Get outside, now." She didn't budge, so I walked out, stomach heavy with Lyra's kicks, and stood at the edge of the porch like a ghost she couldn't exorcise. "You stole her name, Hannah," I said, "and then you tried to make me the villain for being honest about it. You could have apologized. You chose performance. And now, you don't get to rewrite the story just because the audience booed." Her lip trembled. I wanted something beautiful, and you always get everything first." And there it was. The truth. Not about names. About envy. Competition. That gnawing little voice that lived in her all our lives and finally, had screamed loud enough to make her steal something that wasn't hers. "I'm pregnant, not a blueprint," I said. "You don't have to build your life in reaction to mine." Then I walked inside and shut the door. And this time, she didn't knock, just stood there for a moment, sobbing, and left. Update 2. Lyra Ray was born last week. She came early, just a little, and fiercely, screaming her way into the world like she had something to say before I could even catch my breath. 7 pounds of fight and fire, full head of dark hair and eyes like storms. The moment I held her, it felt like all the noise, Hannah, the name, the family fallout, it just stopped. Everything that came before her was just static. She is mine. Ours. Pure and untouched and whole. And you know what the wildest part is? She already knows. She knows my voice. Calms when I hum the song I sang to her belly every night for the last trimester. She curls into Mark's chest like she's known him for centuries. She sleeps beneath the little moon bookshelf, and I swear to God, I can feel something healing in the silence of her breath. But here's the reason I'm updating you all. Because even now, even after everything, Hannah tried one last thing. A handwritten letter delivered to our door. No return address. Inside was a photo of her baby, Alara, in a white onesie that said, first of her name. No joke. The note said, I hope you're happy now. Just remember, your daughter will always come second. I didn't respond. I didn't rage. I didn't post anything. I took the photo, walked to the fire pit in the backyard, and watched it curl into ash. Because Lyra Ray isn't second. She's the first of her name. She's the first girl in this family born from truth, not rivalry. From healing, not imitation. She won't carry the weight of someone else's insecurity. She is her own son. And Hannah? She'll spend the rest of her life trying to control a story she already lost. So thank you, Reddit, for the comments, the laughs, the DMs that said, drag her harder, and the ones that said, you're not crazy. For the mom who messaged, I named my baby Ocean and my sister named hers Ocean, and I felt this. For the person who said, some people steal names, others build legacies. I built mine. She's sleeping in the next room, and she's more than a name. She's a beginning. We're done here. The weirdest thing about postpartum peace is how much it looks like exhaustion. There were days I'd be rocking Lyra at 2 a.m., milk stains on my shirt, eyes dry from crying or just too tired to blink, and I'd think, this is what winning feels like. But it was. It was. Because even in the haze of sleepless nights and cluster feeds and a body that felt like it had been through war, there was no more her, no more Hannah. She had vanished, like a storm that burned itself out after smashing every window. But just because she was gone didn't mean the damage wasn't still visible. Aunt Donna still hasn't spoken to me. She reposts photos of sweet baby Alara every other week like it's a counterspell. Cousin Amanda blocked me on everything after the letter incident. Apparently I was being cruel for not just letting it go. But then there's Grandma. 2 weeks after Lyra was born, she showed up at my door. No fanfare, just her and a knit blanket that looked older than time. She sat down in the rocker, held Lyra in her arms like she was made of stars, and said, Hannah's always been a taker. You're a creator. I didn't cry then, but I wanted to. Grandma pulled out a tiny pendant from her purse, an old locket with a picture of me as a baby on one side and a blank spot on the other. That's for Lyra, she said. So she always knows she's part of this family. The real one, not just the loudest part. That night, Mark found me on the couch holding that locket to my chest, eyes closed, whispering her name like a prayer. Lyra Ray, Lyra Ray, Lyra Ray. Names matter, not because of the syllables, but because of what they carry. And hers carries defiance, carries healing, carries me, the version of me that crawled out of betrayal and stood up anyway. Mark said something recently I can't stop thinking about. We were out on a walk, Lyra asleep in the wrap against my chest, and he looked at me and said, you didn't just give her a name, you gave her a shield. And he's right, because one day she'll ask why she's named Lyra, why it's not the name I whispered for years. And I'll tell her, because someone tried to take your story before you were even born. And we wrote a new one instead, a better one where your name is yours, not borrowed, not stolen, yours, forever. Lyra is 3 months old now. She laughs when she hears rain on the windows, grabs my hair like she's claiming it, kicks in the bath like she's training for something wild. Every time I see her eyes flick up to mine, like she's checking that I'm still here, I think, you made it, and so did I. But last week, something happened I wasn't ready for. I saw Hannah. For the first time since the driveway meltdown, we were at the park. Mark had just taken Lyra to the swings while I packed up the stroller, and I turned, and there she was, Hannah, holding her own baby on her hip, hair done up, fake smile already curling at the corners of her mouth. We locked eyes, and she smiled like we were neighbors instead of scars on each other's skin. I didn't move, didn't wave, just watched her face fall as she realized I wasn't going to make this easy. She came over anyway. Hey, she said, too bright. Wow, she's getting big. I nodded. She's perfect. Hannah hesitated, looked at Lyra, then down at the ground. I know you probably still hate me, she said, but I just wanted you to know. Alara's name suits her. It really does. I don't know what she expected me to say. Cool? I forgive you. Instead, I said, of course it suits her, because she was never supposed to carry someone else's name. She flinched. I didn't mean to ruin anything, she mumbled. You didn't, I said, calm, steady. You just proved I was right to protect what mattered. She stood there, breathing hard like I'd punched her in the chest. Maybe I had. Then Lyra started fussing, and I turned away, picked her up, kissed her soft little cheek. The moment closed. Hannah walked off without another word, and I felt nothing. Not victory, not anger, just done. It's strange, but there's a moment after a storm where you notice the quiet more than the destruction. That was me, watching her walk away, realizing I didn't need her apology, didn't need her pain. I had my daughter. I had peace. The locket Grandma gave us hangs above Lyra's crib now, catching the light. The blank sides filled with a photo of us. Me, holding her, laughing. The real kind. The kind I thought I might never feel again. Lyra Ray. She will grow up knowing she was the first word in a brand new sentence. And no one, not Hannah, not the family that tried to guilt me into silence, not the people who called me dramatic, can take that from us. This isn't a story about a stolen name. It's a story about a name reclaimed, a girl loved, and a legacy that belongs entirely to her.